Hi, my name is Alex, and today I decided to take my nephews Mark and Daniel to Luna Park. Well, they're not really my nephews. I'm the husband of my ex-mother-in-law Zoe's little girl. But we got divorced a few years ago, and I'm still very good with kids. Anyway, so there we were, standing at the entrance of the park, and I said to them, "Okay guys, you know the rules. No getting lost, no touching things without asking, and no taking candy from strangers. We're 10 years old, we're not that stupid," Uncle Alex said. Mark rolled his eyes. "What a naughty boy and what a smarty pants," he grumbled. "Let's get going." I pulled them towards the ticket booths. The weather today was just what we wanted. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, perfect for a roller coaster ride. After buying the tickets, we headed for the rides. "I want to go on the highest one," said Uncle Alex. Daniel excitedly pointed towards the big roller coaster. "Well, I don't know, it might be a bit too much for you," I said hesitantly. "Oh, please. I'm not a coward, nephew," he whined, making a sad face. "What manipulator is he? Okay, Daniel, let's go," I said. We had all day, we would have time to ride the others. We hooked up, got ready for the start. Daniel staggered out a little impatient. "How did it go?" I smiled, looking at their stunned faces. "It was great. Can we ride again?" Daniel said enthusiastically. "No, I'm a bit uncomfortable. It looks a bit green, cowards," Mark muttered in a low voice. "Okay, let's move on, let the big one get some air." We got hot dogs, hamburgers, and energy for the day. We each got a hot dog and a glass of Coke, and sat at a table outside. Then out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a familiar silhouette. I squinted and was shocked. There was my ex-mother-in-law Zoe. She was there with what appeared to be her eldest daughter's children. What a coincidence, damn the noise, I thought. I was planning to escape, but no luck. Daniel recognized the little rascal too and ran to him joyfully. "Grandma," he said. "Ms. Zoe, what a coincidence," I said, trying to smile as casually as possible. "What brings you here?" Alex said, "You're here too?" My ex-mother-in-law looked a little uncomfortable. So we went for a walk with the grandchildren. I greeted Michael and Emily coldly. They were looking at me curiously. There was a silence, as if the air was filled with mist. What are the chances of running into each other after how many years? I thought. So here we are with Uncle Alex and Mark. Daniel was telling me with great joy, and we got on the roller coaster. Now we're eating hot dogs. "It's like that naughty boy is on purpose," Mark said. "Yeah, we need to gather energy to ride the other toys," Uncle Alex snapped. "Really?" Mrs. Zoe smiled gently. "Well, have fun. We should probably go too, right?" The boys, but then Daniel interjected again. "Grandma, please let's go together." "Please, Mark and I want to go in the cars." "Please, I wanted to get in the ground." My ex-mother-in-law looked at me skeptically, thinking about how to tactically refuse. Oh, the fucking shame. Finally, Daniel's insistence prevailed, and our strange group headed towards the go-karts. At least this was safe fun, because the roller coaster made me a little nauseous too. To be honest, I glanced at Ms. Zoe as we waited our turn. She's in good shape, which is in fine form, almost no wrinkles, taking good care of herself. Not like me, I got a belly, my hair was heavy, divorce stress, depression, all that. "So, are you ready for the cars?" I tried to lighten the mood with silly jokes. "The most important thing is to remember your license. The police are angry now. They will fine you for speeding." As the children happily settled into their cars, Ms. Zoe looked at me hesitantly. "Maybe you should go with them." "I'll wait here." No, I suddenly blurted out. "I'd be bored on my own." "Come on, mother-in-law, let's show these kids how to race." Fortunately, the go-karts were safe fun, and I was spared the nausea of the roller coaster. Once in the cars, the kids and I raced together. I realized I had forgotten how good Mrs. Zoe was behind the wheel. She had been a good driver in her youth. When we finished the race, the children shouted with joy. Asterisk, asterisk, Uncle Alex, asterisk, asterisk. "How did you go so fast?" Daniel asked in surprise. "Practice, son." I smiled. "You can do it too if you practice. Practice more and I will beat everyone," Daniel added decisively. Mrs. Zoe was watching us with a smile. When our eyes met, there was a warm expression like in the old days. Then the kids dragged us to the Ferris wheel. While waiting in line, we stood side by side with Mrs. Zoe, carefully trying to avoid looking at each other. "How's it going?" I asked, breaking the silence. "How's life in general?" "Oh, we're doing okay, Mrs. Zoe." Shrug, work, spend time with the grandkids. "And you?" "Same thing, actually." I paused, not knowing what to say. "I spend time with the kids." As you can see, Mrs. Zoe nodded and looked at Mark and Daniel. "Yes, the children love you very much, that's obvious," she said. "Well, I'm their uncle," I smiled. so I guess it's only natural. And he smiled sadly. It's great that you stay in touch with them even after the divorce. Not like some people. I realized you were talking about your ex-son-in-law, the husband of your eldest daughter, the man who forgot about the children after the divorce. Yes, Michael and Emily are unlucky with their father, but I can't leave them, I said, trying to be cheerful. And I'm so used to these rascals. What can I say? Then it was our turn, and we settled into the cabins. By chance or misfortune, we stayed with Mrs. Zoe. The children crowded into the next cabin. As the Ferris wheel spun slowly, I saw Mrs. Zoe watching the cityscape, the wind ruffling her early gray hair and a slightly sad smile on her lips. Damn, she looks so good now, she turned to me as if sensing my gaze. Embarrassed, I turned my eyes to the skyscrapers, but I saw Miss Zoe continuing to study me. You know, I miss those days, Mrs. Zoe suddenly said quietly, when we were all together, when we were a family. A lump formed in my throat. All those memories I had buried deep inside came back to me. My marriage to Emily, the family vacations, the picnics we all went on, the laughter of the children, the days when I knew my mother-in-law loved me deeply. Yes, it was beautiful, I said, forcibly keeping my voice steady. I wish it wasn't like this. Mrs. Zoe shook her head sadly and looked away. I felt an urge to hug her, to console her, to tell her that everything would be okay, but I restrained myself. There was so much between us. The memories were too painful. We sat in silence, looking in different directions as the Ferris wheel made a silent turn. After getting off the Ferris wheel, we wandered the paths of the park with Mrs. Zoe and the children. Daniel and Mark were running around in front, discussing which rides to ride. Mrs. Zoe and I were walking slowly behind, taking our time and following them. Time flies so fast, Mrs. Zoe said thoughtfully as she watched her grandchildren. It seems like only yesterday Daniel was running the same way. Now he has his own life, he sighed and said, You're probably sorry too. I didn't mean to dredge up the past, I shrugged, trying to pretend I wasn't interested. In fact, everything inside me was squeezed with pain and longing. Yes, it's over, but it's not so easy to forget. Okay, our love story is over. It didn't happen that he wasn't hurt. I tried to speak casually, but my voice trembled with betrayal. You've always been a good wife, Alex, Mrs. Zoe said softly, touching my shoulder. Maybe I didn't always show it, but I really loved you. Her touch burned even through the fabric of my shirt. Damn it, why does a touch still make me tremble? It's been years, but it seems like yesterday. Come on, what kind of a husband have I become? I laughed bitterly. The lady who couldn't even make my marriage last suddenly stopped and grabbed me by the shoulders, turning me towards her. She looked into my eyes, serious and piercing. Don't blame yourself, you hear? You both did me well. Relationships are always hard, and you failed, but at least you didn't scream and Emily is to blame. Stop beating yourself up, this pressure from her. She used to criticize more. The years change people, or maybe she just prioritizes. Thank you, Mrs. Zoe, I said quietly, taking her hand. Thank you, really, I needed that. For a moment we just stood there, staring into each other's eyes, not noticing anything around us, and I felt a spark pass between us, like in the old days. The moment was broken by the joyful cry of Daniel, who came running up to us. Uncle Alex, what are you doing there? Come on, there are some great toys here. Mrs. Zoe and I quickly pulled away from each other, smiling sheepishly. The moment was broken, but the warm feeling that had appeared between us didn't disappear. It was just hidden for now. Okay, kid, let's go. I sighed and winked at Mrs. Zoe. Let's do one last lap and go to the toys. The rest of the day passed quickly, with us looking at each other from time to time. It was filled with laughter, children's screams, good-natured arguments, and nostalgic looks. As the park was about to close, Mrs. Zoe and I exchanged phone numbers, roughly agreeing to go out together again. But even then I knew she wouldn't give me her number in vain. Her gaze was very open, verbal all day long, and something inside me was responding to it with a sweet chill. The next morning I woke up with a heavy head and confused thoughts. The events of the previous day were still playing in my mind, giving me no peace, especially our moment on the Ferris wheel and the tension that had arisen between us afterwards. What to do now? Should I call him? My painful thoughts were interrupted by the phone ringing, my heart racing with excitement. Could it be Sarah? But no, Mark's number appeared on the screen. Uncle Alex, are you home, nephew? He spoke cheerfully. I wanted to show you my ski. I got a new number. Look. I hiccuped, rubbing my temples. What a restless child. But maybe it's best to play around, not to get upset for nothing. Okay, come on, I agreed, Just don't stay too long. I still had things to do, things I really had to do. To get Sarah out of my thoughts, to get myself together. Mark arrived half an hour later, and we spent time with him in the garage. No matter how hard I tried, instead of focusing on my nephew's numbers and the bikes, my thoughts kept returning to yesterday's memories. Uncle Alex, why are you so distracted? Finally, Mark couldn't resist. Did something happen? I smiled weakly, ruffling his hair. Oh, just adult problems, don't worry, we'll sort it out later. There was the sound of a text message on my phone. I choked as I looked at the screen and swallowed air. Asterisk, asterisk, hi Alex, asterisk, asterisk. Do you want to meet today? We need to talk. Only at 7 p.m., where we met yesterday. My mind was on fire, alone. So, what was he talking about? Could it be? No, this is crazy. She's my ex-mother-in-law, my ex-wife's mother. I can't, it's wrong, but at the same time, how can I deny that spark, that attraction that appeared between us yesterday? His gaze was full, warm and sad. My reciprocal feelings are as if all those years had never passed. Okay, I'll be there on the 19th, I wrote quickly before I changed my mind and took a deep breath, as if I had jumped into the unknown, that whatever happens, we will find out. The rest of the day passed like a fog. Mark, seeing my absent-mindedness, quickly packed up and went home. I wandered around the house without finding a place, burning with excitement and anticipation. At 1900 hours sharp I parked, just like yesterday. Mrs. Zoe was waiting for me at the entrance of the park, beautiful and determined, like a death sentence. Taking a deep breath, I got out of the car. There was no turning back to greet her. Hello, I said quietly. Standing in front of her, Mrs. Zoe smiled, strangely nervous. Hi, I thought anyway, we need to talk. Come on, and she walked determinedly towards the park. I followed her obediently, my heart beating in my throat. We sat on a small bench under a large oak tree, silently staring ahead for several minutes. We didn't know what to say. Mrs. Zoe was the first to break the silence. Asterisk, asterisk, Alex, asterisk, asterisk, I. She paused, choosing her words carefully. What happened doesn't mean anything, I said quickly, trying to save face. It's just nostalgia. Don't worry. Mrs. Zoe suddenly exploded. Nostalgia? Don't you understand me? Damn, I miss you. I dropped my jaw to the floor. What a surprise, but my mother-in-law was just getting started. All these years after the divorce, I couldn't find peace. I thought what a fool I was. I should have been softer with my son-in-law, more respectful. Maybe then we could have kept the family together. And then I realized, I miss you, stupid. Not the family gatherings, but you as a man, but I thought it was too late. Unable to believe what she was hearing, my mother-in-law, a woman 15 years older than me, my ex-wife's mother, said, Are you confessing your love for me? Is this a dream or a joke? Wait, let me clarify, I mumbled, trying to collect my thoughts. So you seriously have feelings for me? What other feelings could there be? Mrs. Zoe raised her hands. I love you, with all your flaws and quirks. Yesterday in the park, I realized that you are not indifferent to me either. So do you want to try to be together without beating around the bush? She lowered her eyes to the ground, almost whispering the last words. I was silent, completely stunned and not knowing what to say. My mind was screaming, You can't, this is crazy, this is wrong. But my heart was beating in my throat, falling sweetly, pushing me away. Come on, decide, stop being a coward. I need to think, I finally said forcefully, avoiding a direct answer. This is so unexpected. I'm completely bewildered. I understand, Mrs. Zoe said quietly. After a moment's pause, Well, I was stupid, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done all this. She stood up and quickly walked away, leaving me sitting in complete confusion. What to do? Run after him and tell him I feel the same way? Or should he pretend nothing happened? Forget this crazy conversation? Damn it. Why is everything so complicated? Isn't it easier to deal with these love complications, especially when it comes to old relatives? With a heavy sigh, I stood up and walked towards the parking exit. I still didn't know what to do, or rather I did, but I was afraid to admit it to myself. As I approached the car, I froze as if I had been struck by lightning. Ms. Zoe was sitting on the hood of the car, calm and determined. What? He's been waiting here all this time while I've been brooding on the bench. Wow, it took her a long time to collect her thoughts. Well, have you thought of anything? I took 2 steps and pulled her to me. Our lips met, pressed together in a hot, hungry kiss, then pressed. There was a sensation like electric shocks on my skin, ancient, primal instincts kicking in. My mind shut down completely, passionately. We kissed as if for the last time, forcibly separated from each other, rolled into the car, into the back seat, and picked up where we left off. Kisses, bites, warm touches, bodies merging into a wild, primal dance. Mrs. Zoe was over 50, but damn how good she was. The alluring curves of her body, her soft skin, her passionate gaze all drove me crazy. Her hands and lips sliding over bodies, giving incredible pleasure. We clung to each other and became one. The blood throbbed in my temples. Our hearts raced wildly and muffled moans came out of our chests. Passion eclipsed logic, overpowering all counter-arguments. Only we were left, naked, hungry, burning in the flames of forbidden love, and let the world wait. Let foundations and prejudices fall. Now it was just us, waves of pleasure crashing over us, giving us incredible bliss. We clung to each other with sweet contractions, over and over again, melting after a wonderful pleasure until we were completely exhausted. Afterwards we lay quietly for a long time, catching our breath and realizing what had happened. He was touching us gently, and we were afraid, as if it was all just a dream. But no, it was real, a hot, passionate, exciting reality. Asterisk, asterisk, God. What have we done? Asterisk, asterisk, murmured Mrs. Zoe, hiding her face in my chest. I hugged her tighter, inhaling the scent of her hair. Don't think, the important thing is that we are together, the rest is nothing. And the children? What will people say? How will we face them? If you love, you don't care about anyone. We'll work it out somehow. I really didn't know how we were going to get out, but it was beyond my power to leave Mrs. Zoe after what happened between us. No, we are together now, no matter what. That night we made passionate love for a long time, savoring each other, and our final feeling had changed everything irrevocably and irreversibly. Morning brought shame and embarrassment. We hurriedly dressed and packed, avoiding eye contact. What will happen now with this burden? How will we live? Questions plagued me, but there were no answers yet. About last night it stopped me. No, for now, this is too much. We need to think, we need to decide. Well, you don't regret it, do you? I mean, for me, not only for me, he admitted quietly, but you understand how complicated it is. It takes time. I understood too much. It's one thing to give in to a momentary impulse. It's another to build another relationship, especially such an uncertain one. Okay, we'll think about it. Sighing, I hugged Ms. Zoe to say goodbye. Just don't disappear, okay? Don't disappear from my life, he won't. With a warm smile, she placed a kiss on the corner of my lip. We're connected now, remember. We said our goodbyes and went our separate ways. Everything inside me was singing and trembling, despite the oppressive uncertainty. Okay, whatever happens, we'll get through it together. We'll get through it together. Did you like this story? Let us know what you liked in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also hit the like button and click the bell icon so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.